Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and do the ugly orange reflectors on your BMW drive you crazy like they do me? I'll show you how to replace them. All right, y'all, so if you live here in the United States, doesn't matter what color BMW you have these ugly orange reflectors on the front and usually red reflectors on the back bumper. They look terrible, and especially in the more modern BMWs where that reflector is supposed to give some orientation at night from headlights. My headlights have a little orange LED bar on the side of them. It completely replaces that ugly orange reflector that doesn't match whatever color car you have. Well, my new Toronto Red G87, I couldn't stand it. I've ordered painted reflectors. So I want to show you how to install these. It's really not hard at all. I'm going to walk you through this process, how you can easily make this update and you get color matched reflectors to match your car. All right, let's jump in. We're going to start on the driver's side wheel. And since this is going to be the same on both sides, front and rear, I'll just show you how to do each one once. Let's jump into it. All right, so here's this ugly reflector that's about to go away. I cannot wait. Now, the irony is, the way the bumper is set up here, I can feel the edge of the reflector right here, and it would make you almost think you wouldn't have to deal with any of the trim inside the wheel well. Sadly, you do, because it's got to be pushed backwards. And there's a line of adhesive that goes all the way around the reflector, and we're going to be kind of prying at the back of it and pressing it out of your bumper. But we're going to have to get some space to be able to get here to work. So we're going to have to pull some of these bolts. So let me show you which ones to pull so you can get enough space to work. All right, so the irony is I have it out. I try to show as much as I can on camera, and I was getting set up to show how to get back behind all of this, and I got it right out. So kind of unpredictably. So as you can see, this all sits like this, back behind this, and it's just held in by adhesive all the way around. Now, the G87 is a little bit different, and every model is going to be a little bit different on how the wheel well plastic all comes in back behind here. Most of the time, you can pull like 1, 2, and 3 of the bolts holding your wheel well plastic and kind of gap that back, and then you can easily get to the back of this. You get a tool in, like my right-angled pick, and you get in and you start cutting the glue free with it. You press from the outside and you press it in. Now, that device is going to work on just about any BMW that you own, any modern BMW. Now, in this case, with the G87, there's actually a substructure that you can see right here. So even when you pull the wheel well, there's this substructure, as you can see, is kind of coming along with the bumper. And I haven't had my bumper off at least yet. So I don't know what the substructure is or how it's bolted in, but it kind of makes it hard to get to. But remember how I mentioned you could get to this edge of it right here? You reach right here and you could actually feel this edge. So what I did was I reached back behind and I very carefully took my right angle pick, slid it in, and you can see where I hit the glue. Slid it in and then just pulled it down and separated this away, separated the reflector and the glue or the adhesive away from the body at the same time that I was pressing on it on this side. So I was pushing it back and away until I was able to basically get the whole thing loose. I got this whole lead edge loose, and so it's free. And then I could gap it, and this is where you want to pull 1, 2, 3 of the 10mm bolt out, because then you can actually get a little bit of flexibility in your bumper cover like this, and it allows you to gap it away a little bit from the structure that's back behind it. So I gapped it back behind, pressed the reflector in so I could see this lead edge, then I was able to get my tool in on this side and very carefully cut the glue away, because what I do not want to do is bang up the plastic or bang up my paint out here at all. But it really took me about 20 seconds total to like I said, to attack it from this side, get this edge free. That gave me the ability to get the tops and bottoms free by pressing on it, and then I was able to get my tool in and get it gapped away on the other side. Now, once it was loose, there actually is a little bit of gap right here. As you can see, my fingers fit through. I just kind of rattled it backwards, tipped it sideways like that, and out it came. So it really is that simple. Now, the one thing you're going to want to do before you put the new one in, and you're going to want to make sure this is as clean as possible. So when I reach back here, I can definitely feel, see, there's something right there. There's still some glue and of the adhesive. You can see me as I'm trying to pull it off right there a little bit. See that? So there's still little bits of it back behind. And you can see where I've left some behind here on this. You want to clean all of that out as much as possible, because the new one has the same strip of adhesive on it, and you want to be able to slide this in, bring it up in place, and press it in from behind and have it sit flush. If it has double layered adhesive at all, then it might sit back a little bit. You want this to look good. You want the new one to look good. This one, not so much. I hate those. Okay, so next step, go ahead and clean through here. If you have any leftover adhesive, get it off. You could always use your pick tool here if you move kind of carefully. And I can feel, now I can actually see it. It would be almost impossible to catch on camera. But right here, you know where that strip was missing, you could see where it got left behind. You can see where it's there, okay? So go ahead and take and clean off any remaining adhesive. And then we're just gonna slide the new one in and press it up into place. All right, so everything's all nice and cleaned off now. I got rid of all that residual adhesive and it's nice, neat, and clean. I usually will use a rag as well, kind of get back behind there a little bit, clean out any dirt or anything similar. Now, most of the time when you fit this in, you don't have to worry about scraping up the surface of your painted reflector. I would be very, very careful because what we're gonna do is we're gonna be feeding this in from behind. So just be super gentle. Now, I'm not gonna feed it all the way in yet because obviously I need to pull this top layer off. Now, it comes this way with the adhesive from IND, so you can just pull it off like that. And then be very, very careful. Now, these only go in one way. They're actually marked left, right on the back. And this says left on it, or passenger side here in the US. They're also angled one way. The bottom is a little bit more square. The top is a little bit more trapezoidal. So you can tell which side goes on which side and what their orientation is. It isn't hard. Okay, but when you do this, and I'm gonna do this very, very carefully, I wanna slide this in here without scraping up the new cover or the new reflector at all. I don't wanna scrape my paint. So I'm just gonna very slowly work at this and work it into place, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide the bottom end first and then slowly tip it up into place. Once it's in place, I'll get my fingers back behind and press this up into the gap. And I can also press with my fingers on this side to get a good, clean adhesion with the adhesive, okay? So go ahead and slide this in and then we're gonna jump to the back. All right, so let's take a look at the back. And again, they're shaped in only one direction, as you can see. And these are matte black to fill in this entire space to go with the black surrounds. Now, the nice thing is about the new ones, you can see how it's structured. You've got these ginormous pressure clips that are setting back in. Man, I don't know what BMW was thinking. You'd think this piece weighs 400 pounds with the size of those pressure clips. Now, the very, very bottom one, if you jam your hand up from the bumper underneath, you can kind of, sort of, barely get your fingertips on this bottom one. But that really doesn't help much. So, I don't really care about these reflectors. So if I damage these red reflectors as I take them off, I don't care because they're never going back on. If you do care, you're gonna probably want to take your bumper off so you can actually get to the back of these and press these out. I don't care. And I'll show you what that looks like over here on this side, okay? So you can see these big, huge holes, and I've got the wrong one for this side. But you can see these big, huge holes that these set back into, and they're very difficult to get to. The top ones top and middle, you can't get to at all from underneath, and the bottom one you could just barely get your hand to. You can kind of get your hand on it, you can kind of fiddle with it a little bit, but it makes it really hard. So, here's what I recommend. Break it. As you can see, I went from the bottom. Now, what I'm gonna recommend, let me come back to this side, sorry about the shadows, guys. So I'm using a little bit of painter's tape. I've triple layered it here to make sure it's extra thick. And then I'm gonna use a pick tool very, very carefully because I don't wanna get to my paint. And I'm gonna get in, back, and behind this reflector. You probably heard that, a little pop and crack, right? The moment you start applying pressure release, these start to crack. So what I'm gonna do is I'm very carefully going to apply pressure until it breaks right here at this clip and tips this edge up. Once this edge tips up, I can get at it from underneath and hit all of those little clips and it pops right out. Okay, so let me get it half off and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so I don't normally do something that looks kind of this ugly. But again, keep in mind, I'm never putting these back on again and I don't care if they break. Plus this plastic is so fragile, you really pry on it at all and it shatters. So unless you took your bumper off, I really don't see any way to get these off intact. And I'm not gonna pull my entire bumper for just these reflectors. So You work under this corner. As you can see, I've rearranged my tape a little bit to make sure that I've got a good angle where I can get underneath and I can get this very first one of these fingers off. Once they're off, I can pry it up and I can come at it from underneath and basically use a plastic trim tool to get up underneath. And I use plastic trim tools as much as possible. I put tape in here to protect, and I use a plastic trim tool so I'm not prying on any of my plastic or causing any problems. But once you get that bottom one up, you can start to work. And as you can see, now the middle one is almost off. So I'm doing this one-handed right at the moment. But as you can see, it starts to work its way off like that. And that one broke. The other one came off intact. I just pulled and the whole thing popped right off. But I'm just going to continue to work my way up through this piece till I get to these fingers that are in and just get the rest of this off. All right. Now, putting the new one on is literally just snapping it straight into place. I'll show you what that looks like when it's done, but there's no need to show actually putting it in because it's cake. You just snap it straight in. All right. So go ahead and get the rest of your reflector off. Reflectors are all gone. Forgive the afternoon shadows here. Looks really, really good. I like these a lot better. So these are those black fill-ins. Now, if you haven't done the driver's side yet, or excuse me, passenger side yet in your car, go ahead and get that done. If you have, you're all done. But a quick review here in the front. So the front reflectors are all done. Looks so much better than those orange monstrosities. I love it. And this is a pretty straightforward project and pretty easy to do across pretty much any version of BMW. So if you've got it all done, go ahead and clean up, put your tools away. All right, y'all, you can tell this is not a hard project at all. It just takes a few minutes and a few simple tools. The back on the G87 is probably the hardest part, and you just have to be careful that you do it, that you don't bang up any of the plastic, and you work through with plastic trim tools to get that reflector out. Just have a little bit of patience, and I'm sure you can do it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to click like and subscribe. It makes an honest difference to my channel, and I would really appreciate it. And I have a ton of projects coming. Obviously, lots of G87, but even more beyond that, and I cannot wait to share them with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on my next project.